Hi, this is DJ with Kale Realty, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to attend this presentation that we're doing with Commission Express. We have Doug here from Commission Express to talk about his product and his service and how you could benefit from earning and getting paid on your closings ahead of time of the actual closing. So before we get started, I want to talk just briefly about Kale Realty, tell you a little bit about who we are, what we do, and then hand it immediately over to Doug where he can talk about Commission Express. So Kale Realty is known as a 100% commission firm. So I'm going to explain exactly what that means. But first, I want to tell you what our mission is, which is quite simply to help you do two things. One, grow your business and hit the career and financial goals that you're looking for. And then, because at the end of the day, you are really our only asset and our most important asset. You're the reason we can keep our doors open. So it is, we believe, our responsibility to help you grow your business by providing excellent training, support, tools, good compensation, technology, also training, coaching, and mentoring. So that is objective number one, is to help you build that career that you're looking for or continue to take you to the next level of your career. And the second objective is to make sure we're meeting your needs. We obviously know we're not the only firm on the street, and we couldn't expect you or wouldn't expect you to stay with us unless we were doing everything we can to take care of you. So that's our other objective. Our values, obviously, what's most important to us is honesty and integrity, making sure we provide great service to you and that you get to hold us accountable ultimately for your success. How well you do is one of the ways in which you can hold us accountable is to let us know where you're struggling, and our objective is to help you through that. It's just real quickly to explain how our commission structure works. We are a 100% firm, which means we pay you everything except a small flat fee per transaction on the sales side. It's $299, or if it's less than a $3,000 commission, we just charge 10%, whatever is lower, or in other words, whatever's better for you, either $299 per deal or 10%. You get the rest, no hidden fees. We made the switch over from a 100%, rather from an 80% commission firm to 100% a few years ago. And the reason why is we looked at some studies. Well, number one, we think the 100% model is definitely the future of the industry, but we actually looked at some studies that challenged this idea that the brokerage firm that you work for is ultimately responsible for your level of success, utilizing their marketing and their name. We found that two independent studies, one by J.D. Power and Associates and another by Matthew Farrar and Associates, determined that around 60 to 62% of your business will come from referrals. So at the end of the day, you're generating your business, so we think you should get paid for it instead of splitting that commission with your brokerage firm. Now, we don't require any floor time. So we have 3 offices, and you're welcome to spend as much time with us as you'd like, but we don't require that you do. If you'd like to hang out at our offices, we have 3 of them, one here in the South Loop, one in Lincoln Park, and then one out in Bolingbrook. And you're free to spend time. In fact, our Lincoln Park office is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also, if you're interested in building or continuing to increase your renter apartment leasing, that we do have a really strong program to help you do that. We generate a tremendous number of rental leads. So as you grow that business, about 30 to 40 leads a day we generate, but you're going to be able to generate your own rental leads utilizing software that we have that's definitely best in the industry. On the sales side, we generate anywhere from 1 to 5 sales leads a day, usually buyers. We'll pass those out to you in the areas that you're interested in. We do pay for signs. We have a 10-member support team. So whenever you have a question, we're here for you. We have a policy that we answer every single phone call live. Of course, we provide cards and email, and we also have a back-end system which has all of our training materials, all the really everything you'd need as resources and tools into one location so you can access everything and get direct access to all the different resources that you need. From training perspective, we have 4, usually 5 training sessions a week. These are live sessions. They're split between rentals and sales. We have 2 full-time coaches specifically about rentals and sales to help you grow those businesses. They will help you build a business plan, help fill in the gaps in your skill sets, and essentially help you achieve those financial goals that you're looking to hit. We also have every training that we've done, we have recorded, including something like this. So we have a back-end system with all of the trainings that we have, so you can watch those at your convenience. If you can't make it to our live trainings, not a problem. And then lastly, let me just quickly go over all the fees that we have associated with being a broker or a leasing agent with us. Rather, let's talk about broker fees. They're $49 a month. That is our monthly fee. We do not make you sign any sort of commitment or contract, but you do pay us $49 a month for as long as you're here, which we hope is your whole career. You pay $150 once a year for your errors and omissions, which covers all of your sales. And then each time you do a transaction on the sales side, it's $299, as I mentioned before, or 10%, whichever is lower. Each time you do a rental, we don't pay 100% on those, we pay 80%. So we call ourselves 100% firm on sales, 80% on rentals. So you get 80% of your of the commission on the rental side, and then each time you do a transaction, we charge $15 for errors and omissions. So those are the fees associated. There are no other fees. There's nothing hidden or that would be a surprise to you when you get paid. And then just real quickly, who is Kale Realty? Well, we're actually in our 62nd year here in Chicago. We were founded in 1951, puts us as one of the oldest firms in the city. We actually have 3 locations now. We just opened up, as I mentioned, South Loop, Lincoln Park, and Bolingbrook. Nick Patterson is the grandson of Saul Kale, who founded the business. We have the street right around the corner from us at Jefferson and Roosevelt is named Honorary Saul Kale Way, which we're very proud of. And he has been running the business now for 7 years, has been a broker for 11. We have a perfect rating with the Better Business Bureau, never had a lawsuit or a complaint. And lastly, Chicago Tribune has named us one of the top 100 workplaces of 2013, and we're very proud of that. So if you're interested in learning more about us, the bottom line is we've got 100% commission on sales, 80% rentals, huge support staff. We have 2,000 to 3,000 rentals that are not available on the MLS, which means there is no listing agent. You get 80% of 1 month's rent on those rentals, which is really cool. I can talk to you about that later. And obviously, we've built up, we believe, a pretty decent reputation in the industry and community. If you're interested in learning more, feel free to contact me directly. My number is 312-238-9796, or visit us at joinkale.com. My name again is DJ, and I appreciate you indulging me for a few minutes while I explain us. And next, what I'm going to do is bring up Doug from Commission Express and allow him to tell you about his service. And we're really excited to have him as a partner. So bear with me 1 minute while I pass it over to Doug.
Hi, DJ. Thanks for having me here today. As you mentioned, my name is Doug Mandeville. I'm the general manager of Commission Express Platinum in Evanston, and I wanted to just spend a couple of minutes today talking about cash flow management for real estate professionals. Quick run through the agenda. Like to review the realtor cash flow challenges, talk about some tips for managing cash flow, discuss some options for business financing, and then do a quick intro to Commission Express. So, just kind of starting out broadly, I want to talk about the challenges that all small businesses face in maintaining their business cash flow. You've got startup costs, things like reputation building on the web, setting up a website, ordering marketing collateral, building a customer database, things like that. And while you're doing that, your cash flows are very uneven. Small business revenue is, notoriously unpredictable. And to compound that, your customer payments often lag your service delivery, and you don't get paid for 30, 60, or even 90 days once you have an invoice out there. Meanwhile, your overhead expenses and the cost to deliver your services continue. Those don't stop. So you have a problem of uneven cash flows, payment lags, and continuing expenses. So what that means is you need to find some sort of way to manage that cash flow. And what's hard or difficult for small businesses, it's hard to obtain credit. Banks and the Small Business Administration want businesses who are already able to generate positive cash flow before they're going to provide any financing. So what's to do? Well, specifically as a realtor, you have a lot of the same issues as any small business. Your reputation building is very important. You have to build your web presence. You have to buy signs, unless you're here at Kale Realty, who actually provide you with signs, business cards, postcard mailings, anything that's going to start to grow your business. Also in real estate, you have the problem of seasonality. The sales in your winter month are usually half of what those could be in your spring and summer months. So your revenue is very seasonal. Um, and additionally, your payments, they're made months after you start working with buyer or seller. Just because you start working with a buyer lead, you might have 3, 4, 6 months before you actually get paid for that after they find a property and you close on it. And as a commissioned salesperson, SBA and banks are often not an option for you. So this graphic should look familiar to a lot of you. The red line represents your expenses, which are a little more consistent, whereas your revenue is kind of all over the place. Especially look at July. You're almost up to 15,000, but your expenses are low. It'd be great if that was every month, but then you get to November, and your revenue is dipping below your expenses. So the keys to managing realtor cash flow is really to do a few things. You want to target sales. When do you generate the sales that you need, and how many sales do you need to cover your expenses? You need to plan your expenses related to your transactions. When will it make sense to spend on marketing to achieve your sales goals? What are your expenses related to your clients and their transactions? Finally, if your revenue is delayed, do you have a contingency plan? Will you invest more in your business to generate more sales, or are you going to cut back on expenses? Where are you going to get that money? And if you have more clients than expected, where will the working capital come from to finance that business? So what you want to do is really track your cash flow so you know where you are. The worst thing that can happen is to be surprised. So as sales go pending, reproject your revenue and be proactive in identifying those cash flow shortfalls. You want to remain focused on your sales and clients, not on worrying about your cash flow. So what we're going to provide to you, for anybody that's interested, we can mail this out after the presentation. We have a template that we're going to share with you that helps to kind of manage that cash flow in, cash flow out, and it'll help you manage it. And we're going to cover that a little bit more at the end of the presentation. So one of the tips that we have for managing cash flow, and this might sound self-explanatory, but you'd be surprised how many people don't think about it, is to create reserves. It's a good way to stay ahead of the peaks and valleys when your cash flow is uneven. Specifically, we recommend that you provide or build reserves for taxes. You don't want your quarterly tax payments to come around and have to scramble for funds to pay your taxes. That's a very, very stressful situation because the IRS is not a very forgiving entity. So, if you have a sale and you have set aside 20 or 30% of each commission for your taxes and put it in a separate account, then when you come to have to pay your taxes, you can dip into that and make the payment, not a problem. The other thing you want to do is build reserves for seasonal dips. So if you talk about what we did in November on the graph, your expenses were higher than your revenue. So you want to be able to make sure that you can cover that. And finally, you want to build reserves for the growth of your business. If you have a slew of new listings or a bunch of new buyer leads or rentals, you don't want to be caught short on cash when those opportunities present themselves. So here's a few options for business financing as a real estate professional. Some of them are self-explanatory, some of them are a little more creative. And I'm sure most of you, when you got started in real estate, what you did was you relied on your personal assets. Maybe you took out borrowed some money from family, took money out of savings, wherever you had it from. Maybe you had a secondary job that was able to finance it until you got fully on your feet. One of the creative ideas that I like is a barter network. U-exchange.com or bizxexchange.com. It's a great way to trade your service for products and services that you need online. Say you need a website built for your business. What you're able to do is go to one of these websites and post that you're willing to trade your services as a real estate agent and trade your commission for the use of or building a website by a professional designer. It's a really good way to do it. Personal credit, well, that is an option. Credit lines have been reduced, with the financial crisis that hit us a few years ago, and the cost of credit has increased as banks have tried to recover their losses from that recession. And the last option that we like to discuss is factoring of business receivables, and we're going to talk about it in the next slide. So factoring is an agreement to trade a receivable with a reasonably well-defined settlement date for cash immediately. And what this means is you can take your unproductive assets in your business, which are your pending commissions, and turn them into cash today. And why this is nice is, it's a commercial transaction between two businesses where the business one recognizes a different value on that illiquid asset from the other business that's going to pay for the receivable. And essentially what you're doing is you're selling that commission at a discount, which allows you to accelerate your cash flow to better employ assets and build other revenue generating activities. Some of the advantages of that, Commission Express is a prime example of a factoring business that caters specifically to real estate professionals like yourself. We can help you accelerate your cash flow by purchasing your commission receivable on a pending non-contingent sale. And what's nice about that, if you work at a brokerage like Kale, they're very familiar with our documents, and they can really make this quick. So if you need cash today, they can refer you over to us, and we can get you cash probably by the end of the day. So some of the other benefits, even if you're not a member of Kale, is that we provide a local personal service. We've got easy online application and funding within 20 or 48 hours or less sometimes. And a lot of real estate agents like this, there's no credit checks. We base our decisions on the strength of the real estate transaction, not on your personal credit. Because like I said, it's a business-to-business transaction. And if something happens with the transaction, you get an additional 30-day grace period to get the deal closed. Now, what we get a lot of questions on are what type of deals would we do this for? Well, we would do it on a residential sale, commercial sales and leases, new home construction, and short sales with bank approval, and rentals. People also, they get a little weary because they think it's going to be expensive and run them into the poorhouse. But our fees start as low as $150, and they're generally tax deductible as a business expense. So how the processes work is, if you're interested in learning a little more, you would fill out an application on our website, which would provide information like the name of the brokerage you work for, some personal information, and then some specifics about the transaction, like the name of the lender and the address of the property that you'd like to do an advance on. We would then send you signatures or documents for your signature that includes that of your broker. And you would supply Commission Express with some documents related to the transaction, such as a signed contract and copy of the earnest money. You would mail them back. Commission Express would underwrite the transaction, and you would receive an advance directly into your bank account or a wire to your bank account, usually within 24 to 48 hours. So here's a quick example of what the transaction would look like. Say you're looking for a $3,000 advance on a $5,000 commission due to close within the next month. You'd sell $3,689 of that commission. You would receive a $3,000 advance on that transaction into your bank account the same day or the next day, and your holdback would be returned, assuming you close within the grace period of $366 in a second check, and what you would pay would be a Commission Express fee of $293, and an additional $30 processing fee in each transaction, and that's all you would pay to have that $3,000 advance. So with that, I know it's a lot of information, but I want to go to see if there's any questions.
So just to get completely clear, you guys you mentioned your decision on whether to advance a commission on the strength of the transaction. What are some of the qualities you look for?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to look to see, what's the financing that's happening. Is it going to be, somebody putting down $1,000 on a VA loan, or is it going to be somebody that's paying cash for the transaction where they have, more than enough assets to cover the transaction fees, or the sales price. And then we also look to, the professionalism of the agent. How many transactions do they do in a year, things like that.
And do you work exclusively with sales, or do you also work with rentals?
We also do rentals. There is because I did mention we have a $150 fee minimum. So there is kind of a break-even point depending on the size of the rental, but absolutely, we do rentals.
Fantastic. And and just to go over the steps, if somebody wants to get more information from you, they just visit your website, and do they complete an application ahead of the transaction, or do they wait until they have a transaction ready that they want the advance for?
Yeah, great question. So, yep, absolutely. Once you have a transaction that's already ready, so we request that it's through attorney review, but you can still have the financing outstanding. And you would visit commissionexpress.com/platinum, and at the top of the page, there's a yellow tab that says guest application. You can go right on there. Or if you had questions, you can contact me at the number at the bottom of the screen, and I'd be happy to walk you through the process.
Doug, what happens if a deal ends up not closing and you've already advanced the commission?
Another great question, DJ. It's pretty simple. I mentioned we have a 30-day grace period. So say in the example we had here, where you did a 30-day advance, you would actually get 60 days to close that transaction or replace it with another transaction before you had any additional fees incurred. Say you went past the 60 days, then you would simply pay an additional fee of the 366 holdback as an additional fee to Commission Express. If you don't have another transaction that's pending in that time frame, well, then give us a call and we'll work out a solution.
Perfect.
Right. So as I discussed, this is the template that we're offering you, and I just want to run through it real quick. So I'm gonna, if you can kind of follow the kind of the cell cursor there, the top left here, this would be all of your cash flow in. So your listing commissions, buying commissions, rental commissions, broker fees out. The one thing I'd like to point out is if you're with Kale Realty, you get a $2.99 flat fee for each transaction. So it's not going to be a big deal. It's a pretty simple way to calculate how much you're going to owe on a commission. The next line down here, this is going to be your net commission revenue. That's basically all of your commission that you have due, less your broker's fees. Down the left side here, you've got expenses. So just say marketing. You've got $250 a month that you've set aside for marketing every month. But for meals and entertainment, maybe you only have that every couple months, depending on when you're working on with buyers or sellers. Then this is going to be a subtotal of all those expenses, a personal draw for each each month. So you've got $500 that you set aside for your spending money, and then you can build that in. This is your total expenses including your draw, and a baseline cash flow. This is how much you've brought in that month, a positive cash flow, less your expenses. So just in January, for example, for this, I populated it with some artificial data. You've brought in $3,673, and that's your net monthly cash flow. Now, if you scroll over to, say, April, your net monthly cash flow is negative $2,114, which means that your expenses were more than your revenue. Commission Express can help you out. Say you've got a deal that's closing the next month for $3,000. You can accelerate that cash flow, and now you have positive cash flow for the month. And it comes out of the next month, but that's okay because you already have positive cash flow for the following month. At the end of the day, you can kind of manage your cash flow, and it's a pretty simple template to use. Pretty much you only fill in areas that have the gray box for revenue and expenses, and everything else calculates automatically. And the thing that's really nice is once you have all this data entered, you can move to the other tab and it'll build a nice chart so you can visually see how your cash flow is for each month. That really helps you to kind of identify where you need to either use those reserves or kind of come up with a mitigating plan to address that. So with that, I'd like to see, do you have any questions about that, DJ?
Yeah, it looks like a great tool to be able to manage your expenses and income. And you'll make this available to anyone that contacts you?
Absolutely. You can email me at dmandeville@commissionexpress.com, and I'd be happy to get it out to you as quick as possible.
And so, if you're interested in contacting Doug, his information is included here, as well as if you're interested in looking at Kale Realty as a potential new home for your license. We would love the opportunity both to speak to you. So feel free to contact us, and I'll put Doug's information as well here at the end, and mine as well. And we look forward to both working with you. So thanks, Doug.
Great. Thanks a lot, DJ.